Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, jctickets.net, Geico Insurance, Donaway Furniture, Ocean City Golf Club, RussellStreetReport.com, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Holiday Inn Express, the original Green Turtle, hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back. It's the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show right here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, the strongest Ravens signaled affiliate on Delmarva, 93.5 The Beach, broadcasting from the Ravens Room inside the Blue Ox, 127th Street Coastal Highway in Ocean City with Ravens Roost 44. Give yourselves a hand, guys. There you go. We want to thank our sponsors at Bud Light, the Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Geico, the Ocean City Golf Club, jctickets.net, Holiday Inn Express at Northside at Ocean City, Donaway Furniture. You can call them at 410-250-5100. Visit them for great furniture, Serta mattresses, and rental makeovers. Also, buyatoyota.com, your official site for Toyota deals. Don't forget, you can like us on Facebook, Ravens Wrap at the Blue Ox, also online at ravenswrap.com. I'm Mike Bradley from 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, also locally doing mornings at 92.7 WGMD. Steve Slaza, former coach and Ravens Roost 44 member, joining us. Also editor-in-chief of RussellStreetReport.com, Tony Lombardi. And from The Show with J.J. Roth, 10 to 3 weekdays on Ocean 98. Well, JJ, so welcome, guys, once again. So, hey, I wanted to do our Ravens Insider segment with Tony Lombardi at RussellStreetReport.com. You can always find a lot of great information there. It is the official website for the Ravens Wrap Show, which, of course, will post a lot of articles on the Facebook page. But let's start off with, Tony, as we go rapid fire here with the water cooler, tension between scouts and coaches. Is there such a thing going on inside the castle? We know that during the Brian Billick era, there was a disconnect between coaches and scouts.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. When you look back to that Brian Billick era, and Brian so summarily dissed a lot of the later round picks, where these guys are out there, 175 nights out of the year, just studying different college players, going to all corners of the world or of the United States, just in cheap hotels, just scouting these guys. And so when you diss that work and that effort, when a scout lands on a player and then the player doesn't play, there's a disconnect there, and you wonder why that is. So what I brought up today, and you have to wonder if you look at all the Ravens draft picks this year, they're not seeing the field. Matt Elam's seeing the field, but Arthur Brown's not seeing the field much. When he's been in there, in my opinion, he's outplayed both Jameel McClain and Josh Bynes.
I agree.
He should be playing next to Darryl Smith, in my opinion. And then you look at the third, Brandon Williams. He was inactive this past week. He's played well. Why is he inactive? Fourth-round pick John Simon hasn't seen the field except once since the Miami game. And then you've got the other fourth-round, Kyle Juszczyk. He's a guy, Dallas Clark is really struggling. You see him in the H-back formation sometimes. You see him struggling at tight end. Why isn't he seeing the field? So I'm beginning to wonder and sense that there may be some disconnect between the scouts and the coaching staff. Either the coaching staff might be saying, you're not giving us the right kind of players, or the scouts are saying, you're not giving our players a chance to play.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, and it certainly raises a question as to whether there's a disconnect or not there. I think something that has been lauded by this organization over the last couple of years is that with John Harbaugh and the coaching staff, they've been on the same page and worked well with the scouts. Again, unlike what happened during the Brian Billick era. And Steve Bisciotti even said, when I came in to own the team, my head coach had won a Super Bowl. It was a little bit more difficult to tell him things to do or what he should be doing. With John Harbaugh, was different because this was his first head coaching job, but now he has a Super Bowl, and you wonder if there's a disconnect there. Hopefully not.
And you think about some of the personnel on the offensive line. Ja Reed is a guy that they invested a third-round pick, the 85th overall pick in 2011. He's a guy that they had other teams calling and say they were trying to move up to get Ja Reed. Well, that certainly hasn't translated onto the field. He's been active for 28 games in two-plus years. Okay, and he's only been active for 12 games over the last 2 seasons. So that ought to tell you something's going on there, that they're either not coaching him up right or they mis-scouted this guy. And those kinds of things are going on. And I just think that when you think about the problems on the offensive line, the problems with Juan Castillo, and the things that are going on with the coaching staff, something's got to give. And that offensive line has to get better if this team decides or thinks that they're going to go further into the playoffs.
Yeah, unfortunately, as fans from the outside looking in, sometimes we don't know whether it's a bad draft pick or the coaching just hasn't been up to snuff and getting them ready to play at the NFL level, or a little bit of both. And the player, of course, is involved as well. You spoke about Juan Castillo. That's the next point I want to get to. And one of our questions from the audience is run coach and run game coordinator is Juan Castillo. Castillo to go was one of your water cooler topics as well in the article at RussellStreetReport.com. Obviously, things aren't working. He's still highly lauded as a good coach. What's going to happen there? Is he going to adjust his teaching, or are they going to just show him the door?
I think they will not show him the door before the season's over because they want to save face. It's a little bit different situation than with Cam Cameron, but they paid Juan Castillo $1.1 million. And Steve Bisciotti sat in his chair and told us all that he makes $1 million a year. So that Juan Castillo is making more money than Steve Bisciotti this year. But we all know that there's a lot.
But the overall wealth might be a little different.
Right. But when you make $1.1 million, you were out. The Ravens outbid a couple other teams to get Juan Castillo, and he's come here and done nothing with this offensive line. So the Ravens, and to make matters worse, there's some friction between Juan Castillo and Andy Moeller and Wilbert Montgomery in the running game. So you add it all up, he's probably going to just sail off into the sunset. The Ravens will probably try to find him a new job next year, and then they'll get back to square one, because this is just a classic situation of a guy who's brought in a new concept that just doesn't fit his personnel. It's almost akin to having the Redskins kind of offense with Joe Flacco. It just doesn't work. You have to fit to your personnel, and it's not working for the Ravens.
The one thing I'll say, though, and we may never know if they do ship him off, is that you had a rookie center this year, well, a second-year player, but essentially a rookie center this year, and you had a right guard coming off a shoulder injury, or shoulder surgery, that is, because of the injury, and you've got a left guard who had back issues. He's out the door. You trade away your left tackle because he was never a good run blocker to begin with, and you do upgrade there, you think, but he's late to the game. Castillo might have had a little bit of a stacked deck against him as well, though. Well, we may never know the answer of whether, ultimately his way may have ended up working out, but we are where we are at this point.
Yeah, those things can't help, but at the end of the day, when you have pushback from players that are resisting that system, you're not going to play. You're not invested, and when you're not invested, you don't play to your potential.
All right, let's get to the audience's questions. So, JJ, I'm going to start with you on an outsider looking in. An outsider looking in. That is, what is up with Ray Rice? Should we stop giving the ball to him? Obviously, he's a different back this year, but do you think from an outsider looking in that he's completely lost it after 5 great years all of a sudden?
I actually wrote something about this right after the game on Sunday. Do I think Ray Rice right now is an elite running back? No. Do I think Ray Rice is an above-average good running back? Absolutely. Tony made a good point. You made a good point with all your injuries on the offensive line. If there's no holes to run to, Ray Rice isn't Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, in my lifetime, is the greatest running back I've ever seen.
I agree.
Emmitt Smith has the most yards from scrimmage of any running back in the history of the NFL. Can you imagine if Barry Sanders ran behind the offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys in their glory years? There's nowhere to run for Ray Rice. I don't care if it's Pierce. I don't care if it's Ray Rice. I don't care if it's my guy, Alfred Morris. If you don't have a hole to run to, you're not going to get any yards.
Yeah, and Steve, that's the argument I've made. Now, Ray doesn't look the same. I'll grant him that. His legs don't seem to be there for whatever reason. I know that he had the hip flexor. But, folks, there's no holes there. I mean, it's not like Bernard Pierce is lighting it up that much, lighting it up either back there for the most part. He's not. I mean, the offensive line is horrible.
No, when you hear the people, change the running backs, put Pierce, it's like, you're getting hit. It doesn't matter who the running back is. When you're getting hit as you're taking the handoff, you're not going to gain many yards. When looking back at the game, like I said, the holes that were there, he was making 2 or 3 yards. He's not making 20-yard runs. I think there was a stat that said he hadn't had a 20-yard run all year. But the reality is, if you've got a hurt hip flexor, and this is where, Tony and I, we were talking before the show, Harbaugh got called into question, and, is he hurt? Well, yes, he's hurt. There are definitely signs that he's hurt. Well, if he's hurt, and he's hurt with a hip flexor, which is a muscle, how do you get better? By playing. The kid toughed it out, and he fought, and he came back probably 2 or 3 games, ahead of when he should have. And, I put that on the coaching staff. They should have sat him down and gotten Pierce better and gotten a third running back in earlier that could have provided some relief.
Yeah, I agree that he is hurt, and I think it's hurting his performance. He doesn't have a burst. Pro Football Focus ranks 28 starting running backs. I guess the other 3 or 4 are just they're in rotation systems.
Sure,
But of the 28 starting tailbacks in the league, by far, Ray Rice's statistics show that he's the least elusive running back in the league. Now, that's just not Ray Rice-like. But to me, Mike, the way you really see where he's hurt, or you can really tell that he's hurt, he was a pretty decent pass blocker in past years. He's horrible this year. And when you've got a confused offensive line and you've got a back that can't pick up those blitzers in the A-gap, you got trouble.
Well, you do have that, and certainly Ray Rice got more than enough touches for a guy that is not 100% healthy. He got 24 in the game against Cincinnati, so we can't say that we didn't at least try to get him the ball. But I think it's a combination of those things. We'll see if Bernard Pierce gets more of the load in the weeks to come, starting this Sunday against the Bears. Tony, let me go back to you with this question. With not as cap figure, Flacco, Suggs, Yonda, Rice, okay, all next year making a lot of money, and in some cases Flacco goes from 6 to 14 roughly in terms of the cap hit. What 2 to 3 players from the audience are asking, what 2 to 3 players might not be back in 2014, considering Dixon's going to be a free agent, although he probably will be gone. Pitta, Doss, Darrell Smith, Arthur Jones, etc., among the free agents that you have to, a couple that you're probably going to pay as well.
I think that Arthur Jones probably is the most at risk because he's playing his way off the team, and they're not going to be able to afford it.
Because of his numbers.
Yeah, and when you have guys like Haloti Ngata, Joe Flacco, I'll even throw into this mix, Ray Rice, up until this past week, Ladarius Webb, Marshall Yonda, when you have a lot of high-priced veterans that aren't playing to the level of their contract, you've got trouble. Yeah. You've got trouble. And that makes it difficult for you. And none of those contracts are the type that you can really spin them out into new contracts, especially to Haloti Ngata. People keep saying, well, he's a $16 million cap figure next year. Well, if you let him go, he's going to eat up $15 million of your cap. So can you replace Haloti Ngata, even as poorly as he's played, for $1 million? Probably not.
Yeah.
We'll take him.
Yeah, right.
Trust me, we will take him.
Well, if you thought this past offseason was interesting, the offseason coming up for the Ravens is going to be very interesting. But, hey, let's take it week to week, and we'll deal with the offseason then when we have to. Hey, more of the Ravens Wrap Show to come on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach. We're back now.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
Come see us at Blue Off.
Like 33rd Street was to Colt fans, Russell Street will become legendary for future generations of Raven fans. Not only is Russell Street the team's address on Sunday, it's now home to the website voted Baltimore's best 5 years in a row. You've known them as Ravens247.com for years, and now you'll love them as RussellStreetReport.com for many more. There's nothing else like it for Baltimore football fans. Trust me, RussellStreetReport.com. Baltimore's home for football 24/7.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.